Hi, good evening, and thanks for being a part of the program. Glad to have you with us on this Tuesday, the 14th. Another nice but albeit hot day in the neighborhood, as temperatures are also going to continue to rise, so with chances of showers and some thunderstorms. A strong upper level disturbance in town tomorrow through Thursday. On the heels of that, a cold front will all give us some increased chances of the before mentioned conditions. Definitely an update warranted in your weather forecast in just a few moments. We'll have more testimony that has been revealed as court documents have been filed and released pertaining to the ongoing election fraud case here in McGoffin County. An escapee who walked out with the identity of another inmate from the Big Sandy Regional Detention Center is being sought after tonight. A whole lot of other news and information. A few other reports we want to pass along before we get to all of that and other headlines. And I'll have more on tomorrow's program or sometime soon as I have a little more time to analyze the data and information. But we do have to make mention tonight that overdose deaths and rates have been looked at closely for the past year of 2015. The Office of Drug Control Policy does an annual look at those numbers, and they have found that Kentucky overdose deaths increased and significantly for 2015, which is also the first year that trafficking and controlled substance laws got tougher on the books. That increase was, some said, 16%. And in Kentucky, fentanyl was a big factor with 420 fatal overdoses in 2015, up from just 121 the previous year. There are some reasons for that. There's some other data we wish to pass along. I can't tell you right now for all we'll talk about this evening. Jefferson County had the most overdose deaths in Kentucky for any county at 268. I can also tell you that the counties with the most overdose deaths per 100,000 people, that's per capita, came in as follows. Leslie, Bell, Gallatin, Knott, and Wolfe, number 4 and 5. Floyd County, number 6, respectively, followed by Campbell County and Kenton. Top 5 counties for heroin-related overdose deaths: Jefferson at 131, then Kenton, Fayette, Campbell, and Boone. A whole lot of data to be extracted, and we'll have more on that a little bit later this week. More on local election fraud in a few moments, but we've learned today that there's a Pike County man who's been indicted on charges of election fraud for a recent statewide primary election. He's been identified by investigators as 50-year-old Keith Justice of Pikeville, indicted by a Franklin County grand jury. Right now, he's charged with 4 counts of intimidating an election officer and 1 count of interfering with an election involving a precinct related to the Pike County May primary of this past year, according to a press release by the AG's office. The charges against Justice are all felony charges, and all could land him several years in prison. In a case that involves $23 million paid by the government to Eric Kahn from 2005 through roughly last year, and $600 million or more than that actually from the government paid in disability benefits to his clients, a former Social Security Chief Administrative Law Judge pleaded guilty in federal court, we understand, yesterday afternoon for conspiring to retaliate against a former employee of the Social Security Administration who was giving information, being a whistleblower, if you will, regarding potential corruption and fraud to federal investigators in the Eric Kahn case. 66-year-old Charlie Paul Andrus of Huntington pleaded guilty before U.S. District Judge Danny Reeves of Eastern Kentucky to 1 count of information charging him with conspiracy to retaliate against an informant. Andrus had been an administrative law judge with the Social Security Administration for about 28 years. He was responsible for adjudicating claims for disability benefits on behalf of the Social Security Administration. In 1997, Andrus was promoted to the position of Chief Administrative Law Judge for the hearing office located in Huntington. Now, this all came to light back in May of 2011 when federal agents went to the Huntington hearing office, and they started going through evidence and interviewing witnesses, part of an investigation into allegations of potential corruption and fraud at the hearing office that was purportedly committed by Administrative Law Judge David Doherty and Eric Kahn. That same day, of course, was when we all sort of heard about it when the Wall Street Journal published an article critical of the Huntington hearing office. Andrus admitted that the article was embarrassing personally and that it cast him as well as the Huntington hearing office in a negative light, and because of that and the subsequent criminal investigation, he was demoted from his position as Chief Administrative Law Judge. But that's not what he's charged for. Obviously, he admitted that at the time of his demotion, he was aware that an employee with the SSA office was meeting with investigators and giving them information about potential federal offenses. And according to his plea agreement, he met with Kahn shortly after that article was published, and the two came up with a plan, and they put it into action to try to discredit that informant, one of the two whistleblowers in the case. And according to court documents, it involved filming that informant violating a program that allowed employees of the Social Security Administration to work at home, with the hope that that informant would be terminated as a result. Well, it didn't work. By pleading guilty today, Andrus admitted that he was aware that the Social Security employee reported truthful information to federal investigators, and he wanted to retaliate against that employee by interfering with the employee's employment and livelihood. He is set to be sentenced in September on the 19th. His plan was to catch Sarah Carver, one of two whistleblowers in the case, for violating a work-from-home program. Andrus would give Kahn's employees or others individuals the address and dates and times that she was to be working at home, and Kahn also hired a private investigator who filmed her supposedly not working from home when she was supposed to be, but he falsified that video timestamp and then sent it to the wrong address, and it all came to light, and now that judge has pled guilty. And of course Kahn's still under indictment, 18 counts of conspiracy, fraud, obstruction, false statement, and money laundering in connection with that scheme to obtain those millions of dollars for himself, and then of course those benefits going on to his clients. When we come back, we'll go ahead and dive into our own election fraud trial here, or case, with the upcoming trial in McGoffin County. As we did the first time around when a defendant tried to have testimony dismissed from the upcoming trial, the government has responded to such a motion, and we have more testimony from Scotty McCarty to federal investigators. Stay tuned. For high-speed internet starting at 15 meg for all of your gaming, movie, home, and business solutions, or to watch TV, including your favorite local channels without a contract, with hundreds of channels and digital and HD quality, and to stay connected 24/7 with friends and family, a direct line to 911, or to give your business the link it needs, choose telephone service you know is always there. Just click on their link on this site to find out how affordable the latest technology in communications can be. Foothills Communications. As we did the first time, a defendant tried to have testimony dismissed from the upcoming election fraud trial in McGoffin County, still set for July the 5th, in what the FBI considers credible evidence to show widespread election fraud for years in McGoffin County. We again are privy to more recorded statements from former co-defendant Scotty McCarty made to federal investigators after the government has responded to Larry Shepard's motion to have anything that Scotty McCarty has told the FBI about any other election besides that of 2014 ruled inadmissible. In the government's response, they say that Shepard is essentially repeating and expanding on the motion on the same subject filed by co-defendant Gary Reisner, the court considering already and denying Reisner's motion. They say that Shepard has clearly misunderstood the significance of a recent disclosure by the government of supplemental statements made by Scotty McCarty, and that the government will now, as a result of that, make clear that it considers all of Scotty McCarty's testimony about his prior illegal election-related activities in McGoffin County to be admissible background evidence. The government contends that a testifying co-conspirator's prior illegal associations with members of that charged conspiracy in prior similar settings is inextricably intertwined with the charged conspiracy because it's a prelude to the charged offense. It's directly probative of the charged offense, and it arises from the same events as the charged offense, and that Scotty McCarty's testimony about other election cycles also answers questions that otherwise would arise, such as why the co-defendants asked him to participate in the fraud and why the group chose to act in a particular way. The government argues that the 2014 election cycle here in McGoffin County didn't occur in a historical vacuum, that Scotty McCarty describes an ongoing process of election fraud that involves the same core group of actors with the same motive in successive election cycles, and these actors continue to tweak and modify their plan to meet the problems of the past elections and to take advantage of newfound vulnerabilities in voting integrity, and the only thing that changes is the year, and that Scotty McCarty's history of election fraud with this core group completes the story of the current case. The government saying that McCarty describes a seamless history of fraud in election after election, that the misconduct is essentially the same, the manipulation of voters, votes, and voting in order to steal elections. It does not cast the defendants in a different light, and therefore the motion should be denied. Attached to that response, supplemental statements that were taken by the FBI from Scotty McCarty detailing fraud that McCarty claims to have been a part of or associated with all the way back to 2002 when he first got involved in Magoffin County politics. In the 2002 county election, he detailed that he had 3 absentee ballots when he went to meet Charles Hardin behind his medical plaza, and that after Hardin got out of McCarty's truck, he left behind $1,000 in cash, telling him to take care of those 3 absentee votes, and that he was beginning to understand Magoffin County politics. McCarty claims that in the 2006 county election, he asked Judge Charles Hardin to see if he could sit as an election judge on the Carty Branch precinct, saying that Gary Reisner was running for magistrate in District 1 after winning the primary nominee with Carty Branch's help, after large amounts of people came to vote and they had been sent there by Gary Rooster Reisner and told to ask for Scotty McCarty to take care of him. He also says that the night before the 2006 general election, that Gary Reisner as well as McCarty all met with Charles Hardin and Randall Hardin at Hardin's medical office, and after about 15 minutes of talks, Hardin, that being Randall Hardin, left the office for about 2 minutes and then came back, and then 5 minutes later, the meeting was over with Gary Rooster Reisner and Scotty McCarty getting in Rooster Reisner's vehicle, discovering $2,500 in $100 bills in the ashtray that he says was obviously put there by Randall Hardin when he left the office for a few moments. In 2008, he says sometime around March of that year, he was elected as a Democratic chair for the Carty Branch precinct, and that with the help of himself, Renee Shepard, Larry Shepard, and Gary Reisner, they handpicked the board for the Carty Branch precinct, with board members specifically chosen to help them carry out their plans. He detailed a conversation that he was alleged to have had in that election year with Gary Reisner and Larry Shepard, that it would be okay to vote extra ballots throughout the rest of the day, but to be sure not put the red seal on the bag of the election data after the election was over, because the number of signatures wouldn't match the vote total. He says that throughout the day he voted and confirmed 60 extra ballots for John Sizemore. He kept track of those votes that he would make erroneously by taking a penny out of one pocket and put it into the other pocket, and at the end of the day there were 60 pennies and 60 extra votes on the books, where he would just go to a voting machine and cast ballots. And that after the election was over, instead of taking the election back to the courthouse, they took it unsealed to Gary Rooster Reisner's house, where he was waiting on them. He took the election book, and Reisner just picked out 60 random names and forged their signature, and then they placed the materials back in the bag, taped it up, and sent it on to the courthouse to be counted. He said in election years that were non-county election years, such as 2011, Allison Grimes running for Secretary of State against Elaine Walker, it was still business as usual as in previous elections, that they would hand select the precinct boards so that vote buying could take place as usual to get her elected per Charles Hardin's orders and that of Gary Rooster Reisner. Again, Carty Branch had the largest voter turnout and the largest margin in the county. Moving ahead to 2012, he says he was at his farm talking with Gary Rooster Reisner when John Short and Charles Hardin pulled up in a vehicle, and they discussed for about 30 minutes, with Charles Hardin telling them that they needed to make sure that John Short was elected to benefit Charles Hardin. He also said John Short and Charles Hardin insisted that they do whatever it took to get Short elected. And about 2 weeks before that election, while choosing the boards, Larry Shepard and Gary Reisner told he and his brother Robbie McCarty that they were going to put 2 Republicans to sit with them to help them control the voting. 2 Republicans handpicked that would not pay any attention to what they were doing, identified as Jessica Prater and Kendra Carty. He says that he and Gary Rooster Reisner and Larry Shepard, Jerry Helton, Chester Howard all went to the Carty Branch precinct and then set up everything just like it had been in the 2010 election, with Chester Howard having the fire truck pulled in so that the public and the clerk couldn't see the voting machines. And that on the morning of the election, Tanya Ward and her husband Randy showed up with Fire Chief Scott Castle of the Middle Fork Fire Department, demanding that the fire truck be moved so it wouldn't obstruct the view of the machines. During the day, he says, of the election, however, Gary Reisner brought people to the precinct to vote and then directed them to Scotty McCarty, and he says it went on all day long, and that because the board had been hand-picked by the election commissioners and Renee Shepard, he was able to work both machines all day long with no questions asked. And due to that strategy, Tanya Ward lost her home precinct by 54 votes as they were casting votes for her challenger, Walter Whitaker. The judge has said that they will rule on the motion to dismiss in a timely fashion and that the trial is still set for July the 5th in London. I'll be right back. Johnson County Sheriff Dwayne Price contacted us earlier today as he was making the rounds contacting local and other law enforcement in an effort to try to locate a man who walked out of the Big Sandy Regional Detention Center under the premise that he was somebody else. He reportedly assumed the identity of another inmate who was set to be released today while he himself was serving a sentence of about 2 years on domestic violence. David Smallwood is now being sought after being released today and then violating an EPO after going to the victim's residence. It was there that he obtained, they believe, some car keys to a vehicle he owns, and that is one of the vehicles that they believe he may be in. They also have some other information on his description and potential whereabouts.
And said that they had accidentally let the wrong person out of jail. David Smallwood was in there on a domestic violence in violation of a DVO. And I guess, based on what they told me, he pretended to be Michael Gibson. And nobody caught it at the jail until it was too late. After he got outside, about 10, 15 minutes went by, they figured it out. That's when they called us, and we immediately went out to look for him. We had a couple of addresses, and the second address we went to was apartment 7 at El Rancho Apartments, and we found out that he had been there because he left Mr. Gibson's items, his billfold, and his bond papers there. So he actually went back to the scene of the crime. And when he was there, he got a black Toyota. We're not sure what year it is. His wife wasn't able to tell us. And she seems to think he's going back to Nicholasville. That's where his family's from. And she said that they would hide him and protect him. Our plan from this point forward is to get him entered into NCIC as a wanted person. And our main thing was to contact the victim, since he was in on a domestic violence issue, and let her know. We did offer her to take her to a safe place, and she didn't want to go. She felt safe where she was at. She got deadbolts on the door. Of course, obviously we told her if he were to show up, don't open the door, call us immediately. So as of right now, he's still on the lam, and we don't have a clue other than what his ex-wife said. He could possibly be going back to Nicholasville. And we did contact the McGoffin County, or we had our dispatch contact McGoffin County as well as the Moorhead Post, and to watch for that black vehicle, because it was distinctive. She said it had a white door. It was a black car with a white door. It should have been easy to spot, but we've not heard back from these agencies. So that's where we are right now.
In a press release from the Big Sandy Regional Detention Center, they told me just this afternoon they are currently on lockdown after the escape. Escape protocol procedures were implemented about 20 minutes after Smallwood's release, and as of 1400 hours, that was 2 o'clock this afternoon, he had not been apprehended, and we checked with local authorities just before sitting down, and he was still not in custody. If you have any information, you can contact the Johnson County Sheriff's Department at 789-3411. I'll be right back. You won't beat the prices or find a bigger and better selection and inventory anywhere. Conley's has the tires in stock for your vehicle and your budget, plus 2- and 4-wheel alignment, oil, brake, suspension, service and repair, custom wheels and accessories, all with 6 months same as cash at Conley Tire in Staffordsville. Next to Foothills Telephone or 297-2424. Now in season, custom silk floral arrangements ready to go or made exactly to your special order by color, size, or design. For remembrance, gifts, or decoration, with free local delivery. And new home decor for any and every room in the house by designs like C&R Gibson, Evergreen, and C&F Enterprises. Neat new ways to show your Kentucky state of mind, and new mud pie canvas and leather monogram totes that the ladies can also carry as a handbag, and the large weekender, great for an overnight or weekend bag for her or him. Just one of the endless Father's Day gift ideas at the shop, the seasonal shop in downtown Sayersville. Birthday wishes kick off our calendar tonight, brought to you by McGoffin Farm Bureau. Happy birthday, Aaron Boland. Happy birthday from a whole lot of love, with a whole lot of love from a whole lot of family and friends. Happy birthday to you. Hope you're enjoying the summer. I've got birthday wishes going out tonight to Nikki Love. From your family and friends as well, Nikki, happy birthday. Don't forget cleanups going on this week. It's the week 2 for the countywide cleanup. That's Magisterial District 2. That's all week long. And then the Sagersville citywide cleanup is all this week as well. They're taking the same items, just different entities picking them up. Those big bulky items you can't normally set out, appliances, tires if they're not on the wheel, no hazardous or construction waste or material. But you can call City Hall at 349-2409 if you need some help getting your items out. Don't forget about the tent revival starting this Sunday at 7 o'clock and at 7 p.m. nightly thereafter. It's on Route 40, right in the downtown area across from the Sagersville Post Office. Everyone's invited to come expecting a great message from God. Bring a lawn chair with you and call IJN Ministries if you have any questions, 264-2592. And call me if you have any announcements, birthdays, anniversaries, or otherwise. Tell me, we'll tell everyone about them. A reminder of services to be held tomorrow in honor of 66-year-old George Robert Elam of Rockhouse Road, who passed away on Sunday, married to Glenna Hensley Elam, who survives. As well, he's survived by sons George Robert II, Dewey Christopher, and Richard Bryan. Richard Bryan Elam. Visitation continues this evening and prior to services tomorrow morning at 11, all from the McGoffin County Funeral Home. And due to an appointment that I'm trying to make, I'm ducking out with a very short and semi-sweet Licking Valley RECC forecast. Keep in mind we do have some showers trying to make their way into the eastern Kentucky area. Still a little ways out in a couple of hours tonight, but a 30% chance of showers and a low of 66 under mostly cloudy skies. Tomorrow on your Wednesday, showers and thunderstorms likely mainly in the afternoon. We'll see 86 and 69. Thursday, we start to clear up, still 89 and 65, and then a cold front knocks temperatures down, and it's cool, clear, beautiful sailing thereafter. Maybe Friday afternoon and on, but definitely for your weekend. Saturday, sunny and 83. Sunday, sunny and 85. That's my time, cutting it a bit short, just to get out of here and capture more news that I hope you'll join me back here tomorrow night to see. Thank you for being a part of the show.